Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so today I have Dean Wilson on the line. He's President and CEO at the Turner Foundation, and he's host of Good Life TV. Dean, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right, Dean. So I'm excited to talk about Good Life TV today. I mean, as you're kind of warming up in the pre-show, I should say, you're telling me, it's all about the story, and that's one of the main things you're going after, and one of the main things that you're documenting. And I mean, that just falls right in line with what we're doing over at Mission Matters. So excited to get into this. I guess maybe just to get us started, I mean, how did all this come about? So Good Life TV, and take us down the path of how all this got started.
Yeah, well, this started with my grandfather 63 years ago, Albert J. Turner, who was an immigrant, came from Ireland and had a vision to serve people with affordable housing, actually. And so he started what we now call the Turner Foundation. I named it after him. And for the first 55 years of the Turner Foundation's existence, it was all about affordable housing and kind of a supportive model where they had programs and services for low-income senior citizens. And so we still do housing. We own 2 low-income apartment communities where we try to serve people and have programs for the kids and tutoring and all kinds of stuff that goes on. But in the last couple of years, we decided that we thought there was room for a program that was dwelling on the good. And so we launched Good Life TV, which is goodlifetelevision.org is where it can be found. And really, the Turner Foundation's overarching theme of our mission is lifting people up. And however we can lift people up, we want to lift people up. And so the Turner Foundation, or the Good Life TV, is really right in sync with that we want to lift up people, we want to lift up great stories, and then allow the world to hear some of these great stories. And so, my personal belief is 2 things. Well, one is what we dwell on is really important. And in this day and age where there's a lot of problems, pandemic, infighting, politics, economic issues. There's all kinds of stuff that you can talk about that we're having to deal with. But there's also a lot of good. And so one of the things that we're trying to help people do is to dwell on the things that are good, the things that are noble, the things that are excellent. And so that's number one. And number 2 is my belief is that everybody has a story. Every single person walking around is like a walking book that if we take the time to read it, to learn their story, there's something wonderful in each one. And so really, no matter who I sit down with, whether it's a celebrity, kind of a person that people know, or a complete, just guy off the street who conquered alcohol or came out of prison and is doing something revolutionary with his life, whatever it might be, every person has a story. So we're trying to tell those stories on Good Life TV, and it's a lot of fun.
Man, that's awesome. Tell me, I just love to hear it. I mean, it's a great mission, and as I said, it's right in line with what we're doing, so it's great. So tell me a little bit more about the format, like about because I definitely want my viewers to go check it out. Like, do you release episodes like how often, and you mentioned the website. Like, give us a little bit on the format.
Yeah, so Good Life Television, we're filming every week, typically 2 interviews a week, but sometimes more. But we release usually 1 to 2 interviews per week, and they're long form interviews, so they're 30 minutes to an hour. Some of them are 30 minutes, some of them are an hour, and those interviews all go up to goodlifetelevision.org. Those interviews are also, the audio of those interviews is put out in the form of a podcast, which can be found. It's called Good Life Conversations. So if you look up Good Life Conversations on Spotify or any of the podcast places, you can find, and you can listen to them in the form of podcasts. And then what we do with the long form interviews is we kind of break them up into what we call power clips. So we'll put out power clips on social media that could be 1 minute or 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 2 minutes that are kind of some of the great moments or great stories from those interviews. The power clips are also at goodlifetelevision.org. So for people who, don't have a ton of time but want to get a taste of what this person or story or situation is all about, they can watch the power clips. But the long form interviews are great because I really get a chance to explore who the person is and really hear their story and not have to rush it.
Man, that's awesome. And so what's been, and this is an unfair question, Dean, so it's not loaded, but I will say that I ask all my hosts and all my guests this: what's one of your favorite interviews that you've done so far? Like, if you could share a story. I know that's hard. It's like, choose between your kids. Which one do you like the best, right? I mean, that's a tough question, but maybe I shouldn't say the best. What's one of your most memorable? Let's word it a little bit better.
Yeah, it is hard to pick one. But yeah, I guess one that I would highlight, and I probably will talk about a couple real quick, but one is this gentleman named Jose Lugo. And Jose and his brother, actually, I'll tie them together. His brother is Ralph D. Quebec. And I had them on back to back. These are 2 guys that have both been down paths of a lot of suffering and difficulty. Jose grew up rough LA upbringing, ended up joining a gang, ended up going to prison. In prison, he had a powerful experience spiritually that changed his life. He forgave his mother. He forgave his father. Came out of prison with a heart of forgiveness. Ralph, meanwhile, was going overseas, serving our country in uniform, stepped on a landmine and lost both of his legs. Ralph came back home really lost, purposeless, found purpose, found hope, ended up joining the U.S. Paralympic hockey team, winning a gold medal. And together, Jose and Ralph have started this nonprofit and written a book, and it's called We Are All One Story, where they are going around the country and talking to people about how every story matters, and your story matters, and my story matters. So they've taken these separate roads of great difficulty that included, Ralph losing his legs, Jose going to prison. And there's a story of unbelievable redemption. What they're doing now in terms of giving back and helping others is spectacular. Jose just launched his book called Love, Faith, and Violence, and telling his story. So that was one example where, you get to hear and learn these incredible stories that, oftentimes, we'd never know about. You never know about Jose Lugo. You never know about Ralph D. Quebec. But we try to highlight them. So those were two powerful ones.
No, man, what an amazing example! Absolutely. What kind of feedback have you gotten from the audience and just in general? Because it's quite a I mean, it's a huge project. I know how hard it is to do what you're doing, and even to record two long form interviews a week. I mean, that's a job right there. It's not easy to do. People think it is, but once you're in the business and once you're behind the camera doing it, you realize to put out that many episodes takes a lot of work, a lot of effort. So what kind of response have you gotten, like, from your audience, and like tell me some of the other side of things, of the people that are actually consuming the content?
Yeah, we've been really encouraged. I mean, part of what happened here was we were going to launch in June of last year, and when the pandemic hit, we just hit the gas pedal. And because we knew that people would be at home, we knew that people were struggling, and we wanted to bring this, you can only watch so much Netflix, so we wanted to bring another alternative for people who wanted to dwell on the good. So we launched literally in March, and it's been spectacular. The response, on Facebook, we'll have 300,000 or 400,000 viewers a week. We've had on our website, in terms of the analytics, we've had people from 97 countries, all 50 states. We've been really surprised at the appetite that seems to exist, and I know you probably know all about this, but the appetite that seems to exist for this kind of content. The 99%, in terms of, if you just look at the web or even news programming or whatever it is, the 99% is going to be bad news, or going to be those are what the stories are about, and people do read bad news, and people want to consume that, and that's why they put it out. However, we're seeing a huge appetite, and it's not just the numbers, but the comments. I get so many comments like, "I needed to hear this today." I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z, and I'm so glad I came across this today. So it's just a little ray of light. It's a little, trying to light a candle in the sea of darkness. And it seems to be that there's a great appetite for it. So we're going to keep going.
Man, I love that. I love the mission. Love that you're going to keep going. And as the time goes on, I know you're you started it a year ago, but as time goes on and your catalog builds and things, like, I'm just excited to see what happens, because I've seen the website, I've seen the content, the type of conversations that you're having, and I highly recommend everybody go check it out. And it's really easy to find. The platform's beautiful, by the way. The web design, everything's great. It's on the goodlifetelevision.org, really easy to find. That being said, if somebody is watching this, Dean, and they want to watch it, we know they go to goodlifetelevision.org. But what about some of the other stuff? Like, if they want to follow it on Facebook or just some of the other things, like, how do people connect with the brand overall?
Yeah, so Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, it's a Good Life TV, so you can find us there. And one of the things I'd mention is people know of great stories. So one of the things that I'd love to say is that if you're listening to this and you know of somebody who's been an overcomer or an entrepreneur or a great school teacher or a public service or law enforcement who's doing great work, I mean, we'd love to know about them. And people can email me through our social media. You can find out how to contact us, or you can contact me at dean@theturnerfoundation.com. But we want to know about those stories, because we'd love to have them on. And we do most of them in person, but we can also do them via Zoom. But we'd love to hear about other great stories. I mean, it's all kinds, Adam. I mean, it's the range. It's from a young person who just got a scholarship, who's the first generation to go to college. It's that kind of story. It's a guy who's been sober for 25 years and tells you what his life was like before and what it's been like since. It's an entrepreneur who just had a great idea and a lot of hard work and, work ethic, and made something happen that lifted a lot of boats. It's I love talking to senior citizens, our elders. The wisdom that some of these folks have that can tap into is just incredible. So if you know of a story, if you know of somebody, or you are somebody that would love to be a guest on Good Life, we'd love to talk to you.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I see that. I was looking at the site as we're talking. I see you have Father Greg Boyle on here from Homeboy Industries. What an amazing story! So you're covering the gambit of things on this program and on this platform, and I think you really are creating a brain trust of sorts of stories and a catalog that is going to serve us all for many, many years to come. So I appreciate that. And Dean, just want to thank you for coming on the show today. It's really been a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing, and it's great to be with you.